My dear friends, today is exactly 50 days since we celebrated the resurrection of our blessed Lord. Hence, it marks the Feast of Pentecost, a feast which commemorates the descent of the Holy Spirit upon the apostles. Our gospel text is from John chapter 20, from verse 19 to 23, and it recounts the post-resurrection appearance of Jesus to his disciples. He commissioned them and empowered them with the Holy Spirit. The theme is receive the Holy Spirit. My goal is to focus on the verse 22 of John chapter 20 and how it's relevant to understanding of the Feast of Pentecost. The verse 22 makes it clear that Jesus breathed upon the disciples and said to them, receive the Holy Spirit. This action of Jesus came after he had commissioned them to go forth and preach the gospel. This means that the disciples can only do the work of evangelization when they have the Holy Spirit. This tells us how important the Holy Spirit is when it comes to continuing the ministry of Jesus. When the text says that Jesus breathed on the disciples, what does the author mean? The point has been emphasized that by saying that Jesus breathed on them and said, receive the Holy Spirit, this is the author's version of Pentecost. This means that in John's Gospel, this is the verse that explains how the disciples received the Holy Spirit. The action of Jesus breathing on them is that which impacts the Holy Spirit upon the disciples. To better appreciate this, a reference to the first book of the Bible may be helpful. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, we read about the creation of man. The text makes it very clear that God created man from the clay of the earth and blew into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. This means that what makes man live is the breath of God in him. Take out the breath, and man returns to clay. This breath of God is the Spirit of God that enables man to live. Interestingly enough, the Greek word used for this action of God as he created man is the same word used by the author John when he talks about Jesus breathing on the disciples. What the author wishes to convey is this: that just as the breath of God made man become a living being, so is Jesus giving life to the disciples as he breathed on them. So he says to them, receive the Holy Spirit. The Spirit, therefore, is the person who gives life, is the one who gives the strength to become apostles. And that's what Jesus gives to the disciples. As we're celebrating Pentecost, what does this mean? The Spirit gives us life. The Spirit empowers us and gives us strength for ministry. When as disciples we feel weak, the Holy Spirit renews us. Whenever we feel empty and think that life has lost its meaning, the Holy Spirit fills us. It is important we therefore renew our relationship with the Holy Spirit. For Saint Bonaventure, the 13th century bishop and doctor of the church, the Holy Spirit comes where he is loved. The Holy Spirit comes where he is invited. The Holy Spirit comes where he is expected. The question is, do we love the Holy Spirit? Do we invite the Holy Spirit? And do we expect the Holy Spirit? My dear friends, we need the Holy Spirit to once again live within us, to guide us, to inspire us, and to help us live the kind of life that God has created us for. We need that breath of God to come once again and renew us. Our prayer, therefore, is the hymn composed in 1878 by the Anglican clergy and scholar Edwin Hatch, titled "Breathe on Me, Breath of God." This hymn prays that God will breathe on us and fill us with life anew, even as God breathed life into Adam. It prays that God will breathe on us to purify our hearts. It prays that God will breathe on us until we are wholly devoted to God. It prays that God will breathe on us so that we might never die. This hymn is a prayer for God's help in this life and throughout eternity. God bless you.